All right, so AAC Sabre 75 grain black tip. If you follow the channel or you've searched this on YouTube, apparently I'm like the first guy to do 75 grain or any kind of black tip Sabre. I think one person might have done 62 grain. But what are my thoughts? If you saw the channel earlier today, you saw the accuracy. I would say this is 2 MOA or better. Probably better because of one simple thing. I had to remember that I was not at 100 yards when I did that grouping, and I measured it. I was at 125, 150 more likely. I think I was definitely close to 150. I don't have a laser rangefinder, but I'm a good runner and a good pacer, and I was just eyeballing that thing. I was way past 100 yards. So I will say that it is better than 2 MOA. And I will say that the accuracy is there, and it lines up with my ACSS reticle. Again, I was shooting it at a 14.5-inch barrel. Once I get a chronograph, I will let you know what the velocity is I got from that. It doesn't drop much different than my other loads. I would say this is better accuracy retention wise, because I know like Privy Partisan, I love Privy Partisan, but I've seen their round really sort of spread out the farther I got. But I was able to take a 450-yard shot, and within I think 2 or 3 rounds, I nailed the watermelon, and it was a dead hold. I thought I need to hold it one spot in my reticle. Held just a hair, like technically lower, but closer to the crosshairs at 400. And man, it pegged it right then. And that's why I definitely say better than 2 MOA, because I was shooting at a watermelon that was at best 8 inches around, maybe in diameter, maybe 10. So not a large watermelon, not like this huge thing, that's, the size of your chest, goes from your freaking sternum down to your belt or your freaking crotch. It was a small watermelon, and I did that by design. I wanted to see if I was going to dance around it or peg it. And as soon as I held at the right height, I drilled it. I mean, immediately. And it looked more or less like a center punch again. So I was able to center punch a watermelon at 250. Well, then again, it was like 2 rounds. And then I centered a punch a watermelon at 450. Possibly a little longer than 450. Within 3 rounds. So the accuracy is there for sure. And now, granted, today, basically no wind. How wind would play into this with velocity, I don't know. But I would say because of how much it aligned with my ACS reticle, the velocity is probably pretty dang good. And I did look up, I was wrong. It has a 0.331 ballistic coefficient, and that worked out pretty dang well. Hornady is Frontier stuff is 0.355 for the 5.56 Frontier, and if you get the Hornady Black 223 match, it's 0.395. I do a lot of playing on a ballistic calculator, and I really like shooting far for an AR, for most people actually. So I got those numbers memorized. Like Black Hills is 0.42. If you're ever looking for TMKs, it's 0.42. So my overall thoughts in this round, definitely not a fragmentation round, I think. Now, granted, again, my watermelons were small. When I shot other loads at watermelon at 300 yards, they definitely fragmented, though. they split that watermelon, but they also fragmented. Now, maybe my watermelons weren't big enough. Watermelons are kind of my go-to because they're cheap and you can catch frag in them if around frags. And I was really surprised that at 250 there was 0 frag, and then at 450, maybe 475. Because of the hills, it's sometimes hard to get precise, but 0 frags were in that watermelon. It transferred a lot of energy, but 0 frag. So I'm going to guess this until like Mr. Guns and Gear or somebody else ballistic gels this thing to see whether or not it mushrooms or if it fragments. Because it's possible if this round mushrooms, it might not leave a lot of frag and the whole mushroom bullet will pass right through. Because it definitely left a serious cavity in both the watermelons I shot today. And I got to say, that's pretty good. So overall, I think this is a good round. Will I make it my primary round? No. Will I feel confident in this round using it for self-defense? Yeah. I mean, is my Frontier load better? Is Black Hills better? Yes. Is Black Hills god-awful expensive? Yes. But I mean, you're shooting 5.56, and you can definitely, I could see me taking this out to a 600-yard target. I don't know if I have the ability from like hillside to hillside out here to shoot 600 yards. I could pull off 5 for sure. That's not that big of a challenge because I've already done 5 with a balloon test I've been doing. By the way, fun test. Check your accuracy. You make a balloon about roughly the size of center mass of somebody that's in the important parts. You know, the little circle of death on your chest there. Or you do what would be considered a head size, or a little larger. And you shoot out to that distance. You put the balloon at that distance and you shoot it, and you have a reactive target to know exactly if you hit it. And you'll know your wind a little bit. If you can start to see your wind, if it's blowing left and right, you can kind of use that to know your hold. But I got to say, it's a nice, cheap target. And it really it shrinks your focus down to this, hey, hit the balloon, not a full-size man target. You automatically know if you hit it. And that whole combat accuracy, got to do both fingers in a combat accuracy thing. If you hit it, you hit it. Whether it was off to the right a little bit, off to the left a little bit, you can't tell on that. But that means you definitely hit the thing you were aiming at. So there's that. So I'd say, yeah, not a bad choice for a self-defense round, especially with the price. I'll definitely buy more of this. I'll probably make it my training load, possibly a backup load. If I have to shoot this as opposed to something else, I'm not opposed to that because I know it lines up with my reticle. I know it's pretty much just dead on with what I would want it the round to do. I could choose some better stuff. I definitely know the Frontier is a little hotter load, but interesting point about that. 223, 556. Once you get 75 grainers, or they're 223, 556. As velocity decreases, that ballistic coefficient of like the 395s versus the 355s start to equal out. So it doesn't really matter. And you only get a little bit of edge for 556, 200 yards in it at best. But it's really relative. It all matters what the bullet does itself. So yeah, until somebody ballistic tests this in a gel, I would say not an expanding bullet, at best a mushrooming bullet. But definitely dumps a lot of energy when it does. It didn't just punch a hole in anything. It either tumbled like crazy, or it mushroomed out a good bit, or somewhat, and just punched a big hole in its target. So AAC Sabre Black Tip 75 grain 556. That's a long freaking name. Good round. It's accurate. I'd say you could trust it. I already have now 180 rounds of this stuff. Go get a whirl. I think it's a good one.